What was your I shouldn't have said that moment when talking to a customer? A woman's kids were trashing an end cap. I asked them to stop and she was angry. I talked to them and told me it was my job to clean it up. The kids were fine. My response didn't go over well. Oh my word, your kids are so annoying. That's not an accident I have to clean up. That's intentional damage and you're encouraging it. Got written up for that mouthing off. I hate when parents use the excuse they're just kids, leave them alone. Shouldn't be an excuse for them to act however they want. I was talking with a customer on the phone and giving her answers she didn't like. Then this grown butt woman, just starts whining. Not like using words with a whiny voice but actually doing a loo-in kind of whining. I've worked with toddlers a lot so it was just instinct to say back to her mom, please use your words, as if I was talking to a 3-year-old. It did not go over well. Still the right thing to do, however. A lady was complaining about her parents-in-law and told me to make sure I like the parents of whoever I marry. So I said, oh, my fiance's parents are dead, so I lucked out. She did not laugh. If it makes you feel any better, I chortled. This guy ordered 3 coffees. I brought him 2. Immediately after ordering, so he asked where his third one was. First response out my mouth was, I only have 2 arms. I've done this to customers, carrying 3 plates and have extra napkins tucked under my arm, plus spare cutlery in my apron. Crusty custy goes UHH. We ordered X as well. I just put on my most saccharine smile, look apologetic and say I'm so sorry, but I only have so many hands. I was working at a pet store and we sold those spray bottles for training dogs and cats. Anyways, customer comes in bitching that it's not working and how we are complete scum and con artists stealing her hard-earned money, so I decide to test it out. Filled the bottle up with water, turned the lock on the nozzle, which the customer hadn't turned, and proceeding to spray the customer in the face. I stood there for a few minutes with the customer in a silence thinking, did I just freaking do that? Then I said, see, it works, to try and break the tension. It made it worse. Owner tore me a new one. Manager loved it and had the security footage saved to the desktop of the office computer. A customer tried to exchange cash with me and I told her no and explained that we can't as a policy to protect against fast change artists. She really suspiciously, in an exasperated voice, was like, but I'm obviously not a fast change artist, and without thinking that sounds like something a fast change artist would say. In college I worked at a hair salon. It was decently priced for Sokol, but still way out of my budget. A customer asked me which of the shampoos on the floor I used and I laughed and said there's no way I could afford this stuff. My boss was not pleased. Now I work at a hospital delivering food. Told a patient to enjoy and have fun today before her surgery. Not what I said but how I said it. Waiting tables and I get this friendly looking couple. I walk up and before I can start with the pleasantries the guy sees me and in a heavy Australian accent, he says, hi there mate, how are you? I was thrown off by the accent and by being interrupted before making an introduction, and for whatever reason, my mind could only focus on the accent. And so, when I went to respond I did it in an Australian accent. Not too bad mate, yourself. I realized I was doing it as it was leaving my mouth but I couldn't stop. I was convinced I was gonna get pinched square in the face. Turns out my fake Australian accent isn't bad. The guy is delighted to meet an Australian. Asks if I'm in America on the work program. Now I'm stuck. If I admit I'm not Australian I'm worried he'll be offended even though I didn't mean to offend him. If not, I have to play this part for the next hour. Yep, I committed to the role. Got a 40% tip though, so that was kinda nice and worth the stress. A woman got mad at me after I didn't tell her that one of the items I rang up was full price. I told her, well, I can't read your mind. Can I? She was super mad, livid. But don't act like I know your budget or how much you want to spend. The screen is right there, so show you how much all the prices are, and I'll gladly take something off if you don't want it. Just quit my job in retail after 5+ years yesterday, so cheers to that. Congrats on getting out of retail. It is a cold and dark place. I shouldn't have done that actually. I was rinsing beer glasses behind the bar with one of those giant, high pressure sprayers that kind of look like a small shower. A guy was mad that we wouldn't return his girlfriend's obviously fake it. He looked like he was about to come across the bar. Without thinking, I turned, still holding the sprayer, and hit him full on in the face. He left. I didn't get fired. Tended in the past. One owner's view was if they come across the bar at you, you're allowed to kick the crap out of them with no problems. Just try not to kill them. I was on a call with a customer who was complaining and absolutely irate. I had only been on the job for a few weeks and was becoming flustered. There was literally nothing I could do to calm this person down or get him to accept my answers. I was finally about to get him off the line when he made a sarcastic comment to the extent of, "Wow, thanks. You've been such a great help." In my rush to say no problem or you're welcome, I ended up saying your problem and hanging up. He called several times after that and I just ignored the calls because I was so exhausted. I love those brain fart exchanges. Waitress, enjoy your meal. Me, thanks, you too. I answered a customer call when I worked at a movie theater and it was a couple asking me for directions to the theater from wherever they were. They were driving and getting frustrated with me, and I was kind of getting frustrated with them for being mad at me when I assumed they were talking to me on a smartphone. So at some point I said something like, "Most people would just use the internet." They did not like that. I mean, you're not wrong. I was telling clients their dog was dying and they handed me their phone to tell their daughter, on the line, official owner of the dog, what was happening. I took the phone, introduced myself, then promptly said, "How are you?" Worked at a bakery years ago. We had bagged up mince pies on the counter for Christmas. Customer asks me, "What do you do with these?" and my instant response was, "You eat them, sir." He found it hilarious, thank goodness. He then clarified, wanting to know how to serve them hot or cold. My dad still brings it up. Whoa, I couldn't imagine someone actually getting angry about something like that. It's much funnier to just laugh it off. Fine. Called the manager in the morning. I don't give a crap. Seriously, she told him the same thing I did. But you're supposed to pretend you give a crap. And I swore. A customer came up to me asking about the shoes that were on sale for $29.99. I walked over to the fixture and showed him the sign said the jeans were on sale, not the shoes. I then said sometimes you have to read the whole sign. My co-worker had to turn around and walk off so he wouldn't hear her loin. I am really surprised I didn't get talked to about that. Our debit machine says, "Please don't remove card." And the number of people who only read the bottom line and pull their card out too soon always amazes me. I was a waitress in college and super slammed one night. I checked on a table after what had been a while and said, "I'm so sorry about that. Can I get you some refills?" Well, this guy just begins this rant. "Yeah, we've been here forever. We haven't gotten any refills. And this was the worst pulled pork sandwich I've ever had in my life." And he went on and on about this freaking pulled pork sandwich being so awful, but he ate the entire thing. Like I said, I was slammed and I probably listened to him be for a whole 2 minutes, which seems like 10 to hungry customers. When he finally shut up I said, "I don't cook the food, dude." He was pissed and ended up getting his food calmed. He came in 2 weeks later and I ran the food to his table, not his waitress that time, and he immediately started bitching that his mac and cheese was cold. I have learned to cut customers off and go get a manager. I have too much crap to do during a rush to hear them complain. Coffee shop. Woman orders a latte and I ask if she wants full fat or skimmed milk. She asks, "You don't have a semi, do you?" I reply, "No, it's just the way I'm standing." She did not look amused. Okay, seriously, that's freaking hilarious. Was making casual conversation with a customer after a meeting and they had mentioned how disappointed they were in our QC at the time. I quickly remembered a funny story about our previous quality guy not knowing how to read drawings or what the difference was between circumference and diameter. That didn't help their impression of us. This one is next level. Most the people on here are losing individuals as customers, but you're taking on sending a whole contract down in flames. I like it. I got baited by a client when I was working reception at a law firm. We're supposed to screen calls for the attorneys and usually say they're in a meeting or they're with another client if the attorney doesn't have time to talk with that person right that moment. A client calls reception, wants to edit, complain about my boss, the big boss. Bossman that never takes client calls on the first go. Usually, she's screaming that guy, my boss, is currently on her front lawn stealing her lawn ornaments. I don't know what to do with this other than say mom. I can assure you he's not. He's standing a few feet away from me right now. She stops screaming immediately. Well, young man, perhaps you could let me speak to him. I froze. I felt like an idiot and had to explain to my boss, who was in fact right next to me. Luckily he laughed it off, said some clients are crazy. I didn't get in trouble or anything. I just felt foolish. That is the greatest plan I've ever heard, to talk to the guy at the top. At a bookstore, I had a customer complain because after asking me where about a dozen fiction authors were, all our fiction was in one place. I pointed out that if he knew the last name, all he had to do was know the alphabet and it was okay to sing it if he needed to. My manager took the complaint the next morning and reminded it was probably best I kept my snark to a slightly more inside voice. It also took me about 10 minutes to get him sorted on fiction versus non-fiction. In high school I worked as a dry cleaner. Woman comes in, her dad died, wants me to iron the suit he would be buried in. I ask her what kind of starch she would like. She asks what I recommend. I, in all of my infinite wisdom, said well I'm assuming he won't be moving around much so a light starch is fine, and then immediately apologized and mentally died inside. Well I'm assuming he won't be moving around much so a light starch is fine. And crap, I did it again. While working in a deli, a customer asked to try the Polish ham. She said she didn't care for it and would take some Black Forest ham. Once again the Germans triumph over the Polish. Turns out she was Polish. Oops. Sounds like something I would do. I would probably say something worse like blitz to game though. Served a customer a salad and was called back almost immediately to the table. There was a cockroach in the salad. It was gross. I stupidly said, "You didn't order that, did you?" I'm working in a library, and a couple, they're like 50 years old, comes in. You know the type, they're teasing each other. He says something to me like, well, we're only here for her, cause I can't even read, with a big grin. So, you know, I thought he was joking. Found out after making my own joke to him later that, nope, he wasn't. He was actually illiterate and I had made fun of him for it. After the standard customer B-fest, ending with "and I am never shopping here again," I gave her a smile and said, "Thank you, we sure would appreciate that." She stood there with her mouth open while I moved on to the next customer. That was one of our standards at a store I worked at. "I am never shopping here again. Thank you so much. Have a great day. No, really take you Peter out of here right now." I used to work at Jimmy John's. When we made a drive-thru order, the person who wraps the sandwich would bag it and toss it across the restaurant to the drive-thru person to hand it out after they took the payment. I was the drive-thru person and dropped the wrapped and bagged sandwich. Without thinking, I just picked it up and handed it to the customer. He goes, "You're seriously going to serve me that?" My instant reaction was to ask, "Oh, you saw that?" He was not amused. When I was 16 I worked at an amusement park in California. This family was waiting at the front of the line to go on my roller coaster. The dad just said, "Hi, we're from Wyoming." Without thinking I sarcastically said, "Wow, my favorite place." Now I need to know which park, because most employees are accidental douches. I used to work in the H&M call center and this woman's package didn't arrive on the day our website said it would. Bearing in mind this was an order for H&M basic items which came to about $50. She said that because she had to take a day off work we now owed her lost wages which amounted to $850. I said to her, "You took a day off work where you would have earned $850 to wait at home for a package that is worth $50. Do you seriously expect me to believe that?" Long story short, she hung up when I saw through the obvious bulls. Honestly, if I said this I wouldn't have regretted it. LOL. You said what you needed to say. This is my time to shine. Was 17, working at a Meijer. Slightly older gentleman comes up with a basket on his arm. Starts unloading groceries. Nothing too unusual, except as I'm packing the bags on the carousel, he's struggling to keep up reloading his little basket. He didn't seem old enough to really be struggling, but I figured maybe something was wrong and so I innocently asked, "Do you need a hand?" Guy shoots me a look and stares full eye contact at me for like a minute. I'm confused, thinking maybe he misheard me, maybe a little cognitively impaired, and opened my mouth to repeat myself. He smiles, pulls down the sleeve of his shirt, and reveals he in fact has a prosthetic hand. I never understood the phrase melt into the ground until that moment. I was almost in tears. I was so embarrassed, but fortunately the guy recognized I wasn't being a glibber shat. I was just trying to help him, and was kind enough to let me off the hook. There's another joke in there about being let off the one-armed guy's hook. I'm a dude and had somewhat long hair in high school. I was working at the local supermarket and this older woman, 50s or 60s, asked if I was wearing a wig. I responded by saying no, and replied with the same question, after which she gave me an appalled look like I had called her a C or something. I had a customer one time call me over to tell me how great their burger was, and how it was so delicious. I don't know why, but I loudly exclaimed, "Welcome to Flabbertown," channeling my inner Guy Fieri. They just looked at me and I awkwardly said, "I'll be sure to let the kitchen know how much you like them, how much you like them, how much you like them, how much you—" I would have flipped crap hearing that. LOL 10/10. No, I don't think all Asians look the same. I had an Asian customer at my job who looked a whole lot like my other Asian classmate. I asked if he was his brother. He was. Realizing that it could have come off as weird to say that, I said he looked a lot like his brother. Then I said the above thing. He just looked at me weird and left after we were done with the transaction. Plot twist, he wasn't Asian. In high school I worked at Dong's Sporting Goods. Day 1 they trained me that the website was not dongs.com because at the time it was a pornographic site. Not 5 minutes on the floor and a nice old lady asked me for the website because she couldn't find something in her size. Told her dongs.com and walked away. Instant regret a few minutes later. Try to find her in the store but she is already gone. Hope she at least enjoyed the website I sent her to. Dongs.com now redirects to dicksportinggoods.com. Go to wonder how much they paid for that. I worked at a gas station for a while. It was independently run and at a service station, so it was admittedly expensive. Most people, if they commented on it, would have a bit of a rant but never at us, as they understood we don't fix the prices. Anyway, it's 11 PM, near the end of my shift. A woman has come in and she is going off about the prices. She won't let it drop. She's dragging out her transaction. And she's being very rude to me. "If you're going to rob people, you should at least be wearing a mask in here," she says. "Sorry, left mine at home today," I reply. It's my go-to for this line, which I hear about 6 times a day, though people usually say it lightheartedly. This woman, however, is serious. Oops, she launches into a rant about how she's never coming back, how she can't believe it, how can I sleep at night. I tell her I don't set the prices. She tells me to let my manager know he is a thieving bastard. I tell her he doesn't set the prices either. She says once again that the prices are despicable. The night shift guy has arrived now. I'm supposed to be handing the shift over and leaving, but she's still bitching and a queue has formed. She reiterates that the prices are abhorrent. I finally lose it. "Look," I say, pointing to the massive sign outside that prominently displays our prices in bright lights. "The prices are right there. You knew how much it was when you came in. You also can use those terrific observational skills to note we're only 3 miles away from a city with 24-hour supermarkets with gas stations. No one made you come in here. So can you hurry the frick up and pay so I can go home?" I knew I shouldn't have said it, but too late now, and I had cultivated an image in front of my manager of being a bit of a pushover. This meant when rude customers complained about me he wouldn't believe I would have the balls to say such things. She threatened to report me and I was like, cool, okay, my name is on my badge. She also threatened to write a bad review, which my colleague and I had a laugh about when she left. I left a few minutes later. Imagine my surprise when I saw her sitting in her car on the forecourt, tapping away at her phone. The madwoman actually did it. I checked my review. Apparently I am a shockingly rude young man who would benefit from a good talking to. Harsh words. "Mate, I'm sorry but you are a shockingly rude man. Say goodbye to your social score." A guy came into where I worked and the first thing he said was something like, "Do you give discounts?" Not any particular discount. He was just being a cheap butt. Somehow, without skipping a beat I said, "For what? Showing up?" I don't think he was happy with that. My reply when I worked retail was always I'll double the price and give you half off. The number of people who got excited about that still worries me. In this case, I was the customer. I had run by my roommate's work to drop off something to her and buy something. Since both her and her manager were working the cash registers, I asked who's checking me out. Without blinking, her manager goes, "I've been checking you out all night." I left and he turned to my roommate. Did I say what I think I did? Turns out he was high on pain meds, but I still got a great story out of it. I was a bartender. A guy came in and ordered a French press coffee. While I was making it we were talking and he said, "Oh yeah, I like my coffee how I like my women." Can you guess for whatever reason my immediate reply was full of cream? My manager was behind me and burst into laughter. I immediately regretted it. The look of horror on the guy's face. I was so embarrassed. Apparently he was going to stay hot and strong. To be fair, that wasn't an incorrect answer either. I was very pregnant, about 6.5 months pregnant with twins, working at a call center, and I got a cold transfer from customer relations from a super rude customer. I greet him nicely and he interrupts me and asks, "Can you see all my information and what I need, or do I need to repeat it all over again?" Starts yelling and rants for about 3 minutes. And being the sensitive bull I told him, "Sir, this is the first time I've talked to you. You just got transferred and need time to read the notes, but it's very unfair that you're treating me like this. I was being super polite and you're yelling at me for no reason." Now it was my rant for about 2 minutes. "I will place you on hold and I'll read the notes." Okay. When I put him on hold I was convinced that if my superior was listening I was going to be in trouble, cause in CS they want you to let people walk over you and this customer was going to complain about me. But surprisingly when I came back from hold he sounded ashamed. He apologized to me and admitted he had been a dong to me for no reason and that he wanted to start all over, and the rest of the call was super smooth, but I was very scared while on hold. That's the best customer reaction you could have in that situation. I sold housewares at Masses. When you purchased something I'd be like, "Now go and bake a cake." When they bought a mixer, or bet you can't wait to get those wrinkles out when their purchase was an iron. One night a middle-aged to older man bought a meat pounder. I rung him up and said, "Now go home and beat your meat." Oops. Now go and bake a cake. What I do with my mixer in the privacy of my own home is none of your business. Thank you very much. I was working at a client site and just peed them. The problem was that my company fricked up. Our inspector was an idiot who did nothing, and I was set up to fail. So I am in a meeting and they're demanding all this free stuff, and I blurt out, "We're a business, not a charity." They loved it, and the head Texan was all like, "Hey big boy, you've grown some big balls." Weird thing is they really helped me find a new job. The head Texan, he is in charge of all the lesser Texans. I have to. Once I was a cashier at a supermarket and the customer was involved with a church and asked, "Do you have any kind of preacher discount?" And I said, "Nah, we're all pretty godless here at Super One," the name of the grocery store. His wife thought it was pretty funny but he didn't. Second one was at a large retail store. We sold fish there in the pet department. One of the tanks was empty and a customer wanted whichever fish was supposed to go in there. She said, "You're out of those? You don't have any in the back?" And I said, "We used to keep them in the back room but they surprisingly died within minutes." She didn't think it was funny, but for real, what a stupid question. A lot of customers have zero idea of what the back actually is. The magical back room, where the ocean, lakes, and river all meet to have every type of fish they may need. It's a couple of cardboard boxes, not freaking Narnia. Not something I said, but when I worked at a restaurant a customer wanted the football game turned on, and the bartender couldn't get the remote to work, so I went out to help her. I couldn't find the game he wanted, so he said, "Shouldn't you be back in the kitchen cooking or something?" I didn't see any reason for him to say that, so I turned on Cartoon Network and took the remote with me back to the kitchen, and didn't give it back. I shouldn't have done that, but I'm still glad I did. I disagree, you totally should have done that. I used to work tech support over the phone for CenturyLink. One day, I get a call at about 5 PM Friday from a woman who is freaking out because she's going to have her kids over and they don't have internet. Okay, I walk her through the troubleshooting and it turns out she's gonna need a technician. They don't do weekend stuff, so she's sole for the weekend. Cue a freak out. What am I going to do with my kids? I have my kids this weekend. They need Xbox and cable. OMG. And on and on. So I accidentally blurted out, have you tried paying attention to them? The line went dead silent, and then she hung up. Oops. Used to do billing tech support for Comcast a decade or more ago. A woman had been cut off due to non-payment, and asked what I would do in the middle of summer as a kid with no cable. I told her she wanted a manager. It was the truth, we didn't get cable until I was 15 or 16. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.